Imagine this, a nervous girl on a high-rise date, staring down a glass floor that could crack at any moment. But what if that scary night was just the start of a deadly game where death is hunting her and her family for decades? This is a story of survival, dark secrets, and a terrifying fate no one can escape. Just when you think you've figured it out, bam, you won't believe what comes next. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Dropping a like and a comment is the least you can do to show some love. And like we always say, even if some stories seem the same, they ain't never the same when I'm the one telling them. The movie drops us straight into 1969, a time of groovy tunes and deadly mistakes. Paul is taking Iris to Skyview, the fancy new restaurant floating way too high above the ground. Iris can't shake her fear of heights, her heartbeat louder than the elevator's hum. On the way up, a bratty kid swipes a penny from the wishing fountain, because why wish for luck when you can steal it? And just to twist the knife, the kid starts stomping on the glass floor of the elevator, rattling Iris's nerves like he's auditioning for the role of certified little menace. Each stomp cracks open her dread, one shaky heartbeat at a time. At Skyview, a bartender pops open a wine bottle, but the cork flies like it's got a death wish. It slams into a chandelier, knocking loose a sharp shard that drops and leaves a nasty crack on the so-called reinforced glass floor. Yeah, solid start. Iris, already a shaky mess, rushes to the bathroom to puke. Turns out she's a few months pregnant, but Paul doesn't know. In the bathroom, a singer's young son waits for his mom, the one belting out tunes in the restaurant. The singer spots Iris and, like a psychic in high heels, instantly guesses her secret. Iris fears Paul's reaction, but the singer leans in and whispers the kind of sweet advice that only makes horror movies more cruel, telling her to go find her happiness. Paul takes Iris up to the dizzying heights of the observation deck and drops to one knee. He proposes, and when Iris finally tells him about the baby, his face lights up like the city below. She says yes, her fear slipping away, for now. But while love is in the air, so is trouble. That same little gremlin of a kid is chucking pennies off the deck like he's feeding wishes to gravity. One penny doesn't fall. It finds the worst possible place, slipping into Skyview's ventilation system. The fan spins, the penny hits, and just like that, gas starts hissing its deadly invitation into the restaurant. Iris and Paul, glowing with fresh love, dance across the sparkling glass floor with the other guests. But the celebration snaps into a nightmare. The floor suddenly shatters, dropping people like coins tossed to the void. Paul is gone in a heartbeat. An open flame licks the leaking gas, blowing the restaurant apart and setting screaming guests on fire like birthday candles no one can blow out. Iris scrambles to escape, but terror stacks against her. The elevator snaps under the weight and slices a man in half. The stairs collapse like cheap toy blocks, sending people tumbling. The tower's supports give out, and bodies press helplessly against the cracking windows. And remember that cursed penny? It finally drops, hitting a piano that rockets into a woman and shatters the windows, killing nearly everyone left. The little troublemaker who threw the penny almost escapes, almost, before the falling piano crushes him like the punchline of a cosmic joke. Iris spots the singer's son, still alive, trembling in the middle of the collapsing nightmare. She pushes through falling beams and crumbling floors, determined to reach him, but the floor gives way again, leaving both of them dangling over the abyss. Iris's engagement ring snags on a metal support, and as gravity drags them down, her ring finger is brutally skinned to the bone. The pain snaps the last thread holding them up. They both plunge into the dark. The boy's life slips away in the fall. Iris meets her gruesome end when a massive glass shard impales her straight through the mouth, her final scream silenced in an instant. Suddenly, we're yanked back to the present. Stefani Reyes jolts awake, screaming after witnessing this blood-soaked premonition. Stefani can't shake the nightmare of Skyview. It haunts her every night, dragging her grades down like a stone sinking in a dark well. She pieces together the terrifying truth. Iris, the girl in her dreams, is her own estranged grandmother. So, pushed by a worried roommate who knows she's spiraling, Stefani decides to take a break from school. She's going home to dig into a past that's been buried too deep, and maybe find out why the nightmare won't let go. Back home, Stefani faces a cold reunion with her dad, Marty, and her brother, Charlie. When she asks about Iris, Marty shuts down, blaming Iris for tearing their family apart apart when Mom left. The air between them is thick with old wounds and silent grudges. Charlie isn't any warmer. He's bitter, holding a grudge for Stefani's sudden disappearance when she left for college. Instead of being close to his sister, he's drifted into the arms of their cousins, Julia, Eric, and Bobby, like a lifeboat in a storm. Stefani can feel the distance like a crack growing between them all. Stephanie turns to her Uncle Howard and Aunt Brenda, hoping for some truth. Howard bursts with anger. He says Iris was broken by the fear of that premonition, haunted by death like a shadow no one could escape. That fear tore through the family after Paul died, passing like poison from mother to children. Then Brenda pulls Stefani aside and leads her to a hidden box. Inside are letters, Iris's desperate warnings, written in blood and fear, telling her family death was coming for them all. Stephanie follows the trail in Iris's letters and finds her, an old woman trapped behind thick walls, hiding from a fate she can't escape. Iris has spent over 20 years locked inside a compound, slowly dying of cancer but still fighting death's grip. She pulls out a worn notebook, filled with grim details of disasters death has claimed, like the Route 23 pileup and the Flight 180 crash. Iris explains how she once saved everyone after her premonition, but now death has returned, and it's hunting their family down one by one. Iris begs Stefani to stay locked away with her, safe from death's cold hands, but fear claws at Stefani's chest, and she bolts, desperate to escape the nightmare. Even as Stefani runs, Iris chases after her, clutching the notebook filled with their only hope. Then, in a cruel twist of fate, a fire extinguisher smashes loose, launching a weather vane like a deadly arrow, piercing Iris's head and ending her fight. Her death is as sudden and brutal as the nightmare that's haunted them all along. At Iris's funeral, the air feels heavier when Stefani's mother, Darlene, shows up. Living rough in an RV, drifting from one trailer park to another, Stefani's anger burns hot, accusing her mother of abandoning them when they were just kids. But before things can settle, Charlie steps in, turning the spotlight on Stefani. He calls her out for disappearing too, leaving them behind when she ran off to college. The family's wounds crack open wider, bleeding old betrayals and fresh pain. The Campbells come back home to hold a memorial barbecue, and Darlene shows up, adding a tense spark to the gathering. Howard urges her to stay under their roof, but she shakes her head, choosing her own wandering path instead. Howard pulls everyone together for a toast, reminding them to cherish what little time they have left. But death's dark joke starts its game. A faulty gas tank nearly burns Eric alive. A rake lurks beneath Bobby's trampoline like a hidden trap, and a jagged shard of glass crashes into someone's drink. Darlene spots the rake and moves it, but then an unchecked Heiss pale ale bottle slips, making a hose balloon like a ticking bomb. Every small disaster feels like a whisper from death itself, warning, the nightmare isn't over. And back at her house, Stefani flips through Iris's notebook, the weight of death pressing down like a cold shadow. Suddenly, a gust of wind knocks a family photo off the wall, and a single shard of glass tumbles to the floor right in front of her. She knows they're running out of time. Stefani races to the barbecue, heart pounding, but the nightmare is already in motion. The trampoline rips just as Bobby bounces high, and the shard falls perfectly upright on the ground. Howard steps right onto it, his foot pierced in a brutal, sharp strike. Then, as if death's hand controls the scene, a hose snaps loose, sending a rake flying straight into the lawnmower, which roars to life and slams into Howard's face, killing him instantly. After Howard's funeral, Stefani pulls the family together, clutching Iris's notes like a last lifeline. She reveals the chilling truth. Death has hunted down everyone who escaped the Skyview nightmare. Now Iris's own bloodline is next. Howard, Eric, Bobby, Julia, Darlene, Stephanie, and Charlie, because they were never meant to exist. But the Campbells aren't ready to accept fate. Anger burns hotter than grief, and they lash out at Stephanie before storming away, leaving her alone with the terrifying truth. Late at night, Eric closes up the tattoo parlor, unaware that death is already circling. A twisted chain wraps around a spinning fan, catching on his nose ring like a trap snapping shut. Before he can react, he's pulled toward a fire sparked by spilled isopropyl alcohol. Eric falls into the flames, the heat licking his skin like a hungry beast. But when Stefani and Charlie find him, he's shockingly alive, his leather jacket acting like armor, shielding him from death's fiery grip. It's a narrow escape, but death is still stalking every step. Stephanie tries to warn Eric about death stalking them, but he just laughs it off, acting like she's lost her mind, even after an ambulance nearly mows him down. Because who needs fate when you've got bad luck and bad attitude, right? Then Julia steps in, telling Stefani to back off and let them live their doomed lives. But death doesn't take kindly to interruptions. A soccer ball suddenly smacks Julia right in the head, sending her crashing into a garbage bin. Before anyone can react, A truck barrels up, scooping her like trash and dumping her into a compactor. Stefani screams and runs after the truck, but it's too late. Julia's head is crushed in a final, brutal punctuation mark to death's relentless script. At last, the family starts to believe Stefani's terrifying truth, but when she questions Death's strange order, Brenda drops a bomb. Eric isn't Howard's real son, so Death skipped him. Stefani, Charlie, Darlene, and Bobby set out to find a mysterious JB who works at a hospital, hoping he holds the key to their survival. Eric insists on tagging along, determined to protect Bobby from Death's deadly grip. As they drive, Stefani and Darlene begin to bridge the gap between them, slowly patching a broken relationship amid the growing nightmare. At the hospital, the mysterious JB reveals himself as William John Bloodworth, a grim figure with a haunting past. He's the son of the singer Iris saved all those years ago, and he's been working alongside her, chasing Death's shadow like a cursed detective. Bloodworth lays down the rules. Death's list is merciless, but there are two ways out. Either kill someone else and steal their time, or die and come back to life like a twisted second chance. But with Iris gone and his own cancer creeping in, Bloodworth knows his time is almost up. He quits his job, gives the family a cold, sharp warning, and tells them to savor whatever moments they have left. Good luck, he says, like it's anything but a joke. While Stefani, Charlie, and Darlene plot their next move, Eric and Bobby sneak off to the hospital, ready to take fate into their own hands. Their plan is twisted. Eric will trigger Bobby's deadly peanut allergy and have him revive, cheating Death's cruel game. At a vending machine, Eric tries to grab some peanut butter cups, but the coil jams, trapping the candy like a cruel joke. Frustrated, he smashes the glass with a rock, shards flying everywhere. Each broken piece a sharp reminder that messing with Death never ends well. Eric and Bobby sneak into an MRI room, accidentally switching on the powerful machine. As Bobby munches the peanut butter cup, the magnet tears every piercing from Eric's skin like a furious beast. Suddenly, a wheelchair pushes Eric into the machine, crushing him mercilessly. Bobby drags himself to Eric's body, stabbing himself with an EpiPen just in time. But fate isn't done. A nurse opens the door, and the coil from the vending machine flies straight into Bobby's skull. Stefani, Charlie, and Darlene arrive, horror frozen on their faces. Meanwhile, an old woman picks up a coin, the same cursed penny that sparked the Skyview disaster all those years ago. Death's game is far from over. With only 3 left, Darlene makes a desperate choice. She'll lock herself away in Iris's compound, hoping to save Stefani and Charlie from Death's grasp. They crash through the gate with Darlene's RV, but fate twists cruelly. A faulty light sparks a massive explosion. Stefani's seatbelt jams tight, trapping her, while Charlie is pinned beneath heavy debris. Darlene rushes to free Charlie, but a falling lamppost crushes her with brutal finality. Stefani slips beneath the water, seemingly drowning, but Charlie pulls her back to life with a fierce, desperate grip. As they cling to each other, hope flickers. Maybe, just maybe, they've finally beaten Death. A few days later, Stefani is packing to go back to college. She sends Charlie off to his prom, hoping for a normal night, but fate isn't done playing its cruel game. At a nearby store, the old woman from the hospital fumbles and drops the cursed penny. It skitters right onto the train tracks. Stefani and Charlie learn she didn't die. Her heart never stopped, so she was pulled back from the edge. But that's no comfort. Suddenly, signs from the Skyview nightmare start creeping back into Stefani's life. A train careens off the rails, charging straight at her and Charlie. They barely escape, only to be crushed beneath falling logs, the nightmare tightening its grip with a final crushing blow. As the credits begin to roll, chilling newspaper clippings flash across the screen, each headline telling the grim story of those who couldn't outrun death after the Skyview premonition. One by one, the survivors fall, their fates sealed in cold print. The final clipping is the hardest to read. Stefani and Charlie's obituary, a quiet end to a terrifying family saga. Then, in somber tribute, an in memoriam credit honors Tony Todd, reminding us that even legends must face the darkness. What would you do if you thought you'd escaped death itself, only to find it hunting your whole family one by one? Would you fight back or run and hide until it's too late? Drop a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I want to know how you'd handle this deadly game.